Most gardeners believe bigger gardens always produce bigger harvests. After all, more soil should mean stronger roots, healthier plants, and baskets overflowing with fresh vegetables. It sounds like common sense. But what if some vegetables actually grow better inside a container than they ever do in a traditional garden bed? Sounds impossible. Yet every year, thousands of experienced gardeners quietly harvest healthier plants, cleaner vegetables, and surprisingly larger yields from nothing more than a few pots sitting on a patio, balcony, or driveway. Why? Because containers give you something the ground often can't. Complete control. You control the soil. You control the drainage. You control the moisture. You even control where your vegetables receive sunlight throughout the day. That means fewer weeds, less disease, healthier roots, and in many cases, much more productive plants. In today's video, we're counting down 20 vegetables that actually thrive in containers more than they do in the garden. Some of these vegetables become sweeter. Some produce earlier. Some stay healthier all season long. And one vegetable near the end is so perfectly suited for container growing that many experienced gardeners never plant it in the ground anymore. Let's get started. Number 20, kale. Kale has earned a reputation as one of the toughest vegetables you can grow. It tolerates cool weather, keeps producing for months, and even becomes sweeter after a light frost. But surprisingly, many gardeners discover that kale performs even better inside containers. One reason is airflow. Large garden beds often become crowded as nearby vegetables mature. Poor air circulation traps humidity around the leaves, creating ideal conditions for fungal diseases like powdery mildew. Containers naturally give kale more breathing room. With better airflow, the leaves stay drier after rain or watering, helping the plant remain healthy throughout the season. Another advantage is leaf quality. Kale is grown for its foliage, not its roots. Containers allow gardeners to supply a rich, nutrient-balanced potting mix that consistently feeds new leaf production. Instead of competing with neighboring plants for nutrients, container-grown kale directs its energy toward producing larger, darker green leaves. Harvesting also becomes much easier. Simply place the container near your kitchen or back door. Whenever you need fresh kale, pick the outer leaves while allowing the center to continue producing. This cut-and-come-again method can provide harvests for months from a single healthy plant. Sometimes growing better greens isn't about planting more. It's about giving every leaf exactly what it needs. Number 19, beets. Most people grow beets for the colorful roots hidden beneath the soil. But healthy roots begin with healthy soil. And that's exactly where containers shine. Heavy garden soil often becomes compacted after repeated watering or rainfall. Compacted soil slows root expansion, leaving beets smaller and less uniform. Containers eliminate that problem. A loose, well-aerated potting mix allows the roots to expand evenly without fighting dense soil. The result is smoother, rounder beets with fewer deformities. Containers also make watering far more predictable. Sudden swings between very dry and overly wet soil can cause beet roots to crack as they mature. Consistent moisture inside containers helps prevent that stress while supporting steady growth. There's another bonus many gardeners overlook. Beet greens are completely edible. Because container-grown plants stay cleaner, the leaves are often easier to harvest for salads, stir-fries, and smoothies without excess soil splashing onto the foliage. One crop, 2 delicious harvests. That's efficiency every gardener can appreciate. Number 18, Swiss chard. If there were an award for the hardest-working vegetable, Swiss chard would deserve serious consideration. It keeps producing through spring, continues during summer, and often survives well into fall. Containers make that long growing season even more impressive. Unlike many leafy vegetables that struggle during hot weather, Swiss chard develops deep, vigorous roots. Large containers give those roots enough room while allowing gardeners to maintain steady moisture during heat waves. That consistency helps prevent the leaf stress that often occurs in garden beds after long dry periods. Another hidden benefit is appearance. Swiss chard produces brilliant red, yellow, orange, pink, and white stems that almost resemble ornamental flowers. Growing it in decorative containers allows it to double as both food and landscape decoration. It's one of the few vegetables that's beautiful enough to place right beside your front porch. Even better, harvesting encourages new growth. The more outer leaves you remove, the more fresh leaves emerge from the center. Instead of harvesting the entire plant at once, you enjoy a continuous supply for months. A single container can quietly feed your family while brightening your outdoor space at the same time. Number 17. Okra. Many people associate okra with large backyard gardens. But containers offer one major advantage that okra absolutely loves: heat. Okra is one of the most heat-loving vegetables you can grow. Its roots become more active as soil temperatures climb. Because containers warm much faster than garden beds, okra often establishes itself earlier and begins growing vigorously sooner. That early momentum frequently translates into earlier flowering and a longer harvesting season. Containers also help gardeners avoid one common mistake: overwatering. Okra dislikes constantly wet soil. Its roots perform best when excess water drains away quickly. A quality potting mix inside a container provides that balance naturally. Another surprising advantage is harvesting comfort. Anyone who's grown mature okra knows the plants can become tall and slightly prickly. Growing them in large containers raises the pods closer to waist height, making harvests quicker and more comfortable. And because okra produces best when harvested every couple of days, easy access becomes a huge advantage over the course of the season. Healthy roots, warm soil, convenient harvesting. Sometimes that's all okra needs to reach its full potential. Number 16. Celery. Celery has a reputation for being one of the trickiest vegetables to grow successfully. Most failures happen for one simple reason: inconsistent moisture. Garden beds often dry unevenly. Some areas stay soaked after rain, while others dry out quickly under the sun. That constant fluctuation stresses celery, causing tough stalks and slow growth. Containers allow gardeners to maintain far more even soil moisture. With regular watering, celery receives exactly what it needs without sitting in waterlogged ground. The result is crisp, tender stalks that develop steadily throughout the season. Containers also simplify feeding. Celery is considered a heavy feeder because it grows continuously over several months. By applying diluted liquid fertilizer every couple of weeks, gardeners can provide a steady nutrient supply without wasting fertilizer across an entire garden bed. There's another unexpected benefit. Many insects that crawl across open soil take longer to discover elevated containers, reducing damage during the plant's early growth stages. Celery may never be considered an easy vegetable, but containers remove many of the challenges that discourage beginners from growing it successfully. Number 15. Zucchini. Most people think zucchini needs an enormous amount of space. And in traditional gardens, that's true. The leaves spread widely. The vines dominate entire sections of the bed. Before long, one plant seems to take over everything around it. Containers completely change that story. Modern compact zucchini varieties are perfectly suited for large pots, where their growth remains organized instead of sprawling across the garden. That alone saves an incredible amount of space. But the real advantage appears later in the season. The huge leaves of zucchini often trap moisture when they sit close to the ground. Poor airflow creates favorable conditions for powdery mildew, one of zucchini's biggest problems. Growing in containers naturally improves air circulation around the base of the plant, especially when older leaves are pruned regularly. Healthier foliage means the plant can continue producing flowers and fruit much longer. Another benefit is visibility. Instead of hunting beneath a jungle of leaves for hidden squash, container-grown zucchini keeps its fruit easier to spot. That matters because zucchini tastes best when harvested young. Miss one for a few days, and it can grow from dinner size to baseball bat size almost overnight. With container gardening, harvesting becomes faster, cleaner, and much more enjoyable. And that's exactly why so many gardeners are surprised by just how productive one well-managed potted zucchini can become. Number 14. Broccoli. Broccoli has one major weakness. It dislikes stress. Even short periods of drought, uneven watering, or poor soil conditions can cause the plant to produce small heads or flower too early. Containers solve many of those problems. A high-quality potting mix retains moisture evenly while still draining well, allowing broccoli to grow under much more stable conditions than many garden beds. That consistency is incredibly important during head formation. When broccoli experiences fewer interruptions, it channels more energy into producing dense, compact crowns instead of rushing to flower. Another advantage is temperature management. Broccoli prefers cool weather, but warm afternoons can quickly stress the plant. Because containers are portable, gardeners can easily shift them into light afternoon shade during unexpected heat waves. That simple adjustment often extends the harvest by several weeks. Containers also make feeding easier. Broccoli is a heavy feeder, especially once the main head begins developing. With a regular feeding schedule, container-grown plants receive nutrients exactly when they need them without competing with neighboring vegetables. And here's something many gardeners overlook. After harvesting the main head, many broccoli plants continue producing smaller side shoots for weeks. One container can provide multiple harvests if you simply leave the plant in place. Sometimes bigger harvests don't come from bigger plants. They come from giving one plant everything it needs. Number 13, cabbage. Cabbage looks tough. Its dense leaves seem almost indestructible. But underneath that rugged appearance is a plant that depends heavily on consistent growing conditions. Containers make those conditions much easier to maintain. One of cabbage's biggest challenges is uneven watering. Repeated cycles of dry soil followed by heavy watering can cause mature heads to split just before harvest. Container gardening allows much greater control over moisture, helping heads develop slowly and evenly. Another benefit is cleanliness. Outer cabbage leaves often collect mud after rainstorms when grown directly in the ground. Elevated containers keep the heads cleaner, reducing the amount of washing needed after harvest. Containers also improve spacing. Each cabbage receives its own dedicated growing area instead of competing with surrounding plants for nutrients and sunlight. That extra space allows the leaves to wrap tightly around the developing head. The result is firm, compact cabbages with excellent texture. Healthy leaves create healthy heads, and healthy heads make every square foot count. Number 12, onions. Growing onions in containers surprises a lot of gardeners. After all, onions spend nearly their entire lives underground. But that's actually one of the reasons containers work so well. Bulb formation depends heavily on loose soil. Dense garden soil can restrict expansion, causing onions to remain smaller than expected. A light, fluffy potting mix allows bulbs to swell naturally without resistance. Containers also warm earlier in spring. That encourages faster root establishment during the first few weeks of growth, giving onions a stronger start before bulb formation begins. Another advantage is organization. Instead of dedicating an entire garden bed to onions for several months, you can group containers wherever space is available. Sunny driveway, back patio, even along a fence line. Every unused corner becomes productive. Harvesting is also incredibly satisfying. Simply loosen the potting mix and lift the bulbs without wrestling through compacted soil. Sometimes efficiency isn't about growing more vegetables. It's about using your growing space more intelligently. Number 11, peas. Peas love cool weather. Unfortunately, spring weather doesn't always cooperate. Heavy rain can leave garden beds muddy for days, slowing root growth and encouraging disease. Containers drain much faster. That healthier root environment helps peas establish quickly before temperatures begin climbing. Another major advantage is vertical growing. A simple trellis attached to a container allows vines to climb naturally while keeping pods clean and easy to reach. Instead of searching beneath tangled foliage, every pod hangs clearly in view. Harvesting becomes faster, and because regular picking encourages additional flowering, easier harvesting often means larger overall yields. Containers also allow gardeners to extend the season. If a sudden warm spell arrives, moving the pot into partial afternoon shade helps delay heat stress. Every extra week means more pods. Sometimes the smallest adjustment produces the biggest harvest. Number 10, cauliflower. Cauliflower has a reputation for frustrating even experienced gardeners. The reason? It demands consistency. Any interruption in growth can lead to undersized or loose heads. Containers help remove many of those interruptions. Moisture remains easier to regulate. Fertilizer applications become more precise, and healthy roots experience less competition from weeds. Another overlooked benefit is plant inspection. Because containers elevate the plant slightly, it's easier to monitor leaves for caterpillars and other chewing insects before damage becomes severe. Many gardeners also appreciate the convenience of protecting cauliflower during unexpected cold snaps. Moving one container is much easier than covering an entire garden bed. Small advantages add up over an entire season. and cauliflower rewards every bit of that extra attention. Number 9. Bok choy. Few vegetables mature as quickly as bok choy. Some varieties are ready in little more than a month. That rapid growth makes containers an excellent choice. Fresh potting mix provides the loose, fertile soil bok choy loves, allowing roots to establish almost immediately. Because the crop grows so quickly, it benefits from having a weed-free environment where nutrients aren't constantly being stolen by aggressive competitors. Containers provide exactly that. Another huge advantage is succession planting. Once one crop is harvested, the container is immediately ready for another planting. Throughout spring and fall, gardeners can enjoy multiple harvest cycles from the same pot. And because bok choy prefers cooler temperatures, portable containers make it much easier to avoid intense afternoon heat. Fresh harvests, minimal waiting, maximum productivity. That's exactly why bok choy has become a favorite among container gardeners. Number 8. Bush cucumber. Most people picture cucumber vines sprawling across large gardens. But compact bush varieties completely change the game. Unlike traditional cucumbers that spread in every direction, bush cucumbers remain naturally compact while producing an impressive number of fruits. Containers encourage excellent airflow around the foliage, reducing humidity that often leads to powdery mildew. Healthy leaves continue feeding the plant longer, extending the harvest season. Another major advantage is fruit quality. When cucumbers grow above the ground instead of resting directly on damp soil, they stay cleaner, straighter, and less likely to develop rot or insect damage. Containers also make watering more predictable. Cucumbers need consistent moisture for crisp, flavorful fruit. Large containers help maintain that balance without leaving roots constantly waterlogged. And harvesting couldn't be easier. Every cucumber hangs where it's easy to spot before it becomes oversized. Regular harvesting signals the plant to keep producing new flowers, resulting in an almost continuous supply throughout summer. One compact container, one healthy plant, dozens of fresh cucumbers. Not bad for a vegetable many people think requires an entire garden. Number 7. Spinach. Spinach is one of the fastest and most rewarding vegetables you can grow. But it has one frustrating habit. The moment temperatures start climbing, it wants to bolt. Instead of producing tender leaves, the plant suddenly stretches upward and begins forming flowers. Once that happens, the leaves become bitter and your harvest is essentially over. Containers give you a simple solution. Mobility. When the afternoon sun becomes too intense, you can simply move the container into partial shade. That small adjustment lowers plant stress and often extends your harvest by several weeks. Another advantage is moisture control. Spinach loves evenly moist soil but quickly suffers if its roots sit in water for long periods. Quality potting mixes provide excellent drainage while still holding enough moisture to support rapid leaf production. Because spinach has relatively shallow roots, it doesn't require deep containers to thrive. Even a modest planter can supply enough fresh leaves for regular salads, smoothies, and sandwiches throughout the season. And since spinach grows back after harvesting the outer leaves, one container can keep producing again and again. Sometimes the easiest vegetables are also the most rewarding. Number 6. Cherry tomatoes. Many gardeners assume all tomatoes need huge garden beds. But cherry tomatoes tell a completely different story. In fact, many varieties are actually happier inside large containers. One reason is root management. Cherry tomatoes naturally produce smaller fruit, allowing the plant to devote its energy toward continuous production rather than supporting oversized tomatoes. That often means longer harvest seasons and hundreds of fruits from a single healthy plant. Containers also improve sanitation. When plants are elevated, soil is far less likely to splash onto the lower leaves during watering or rainfall. Keeping foliage clean helps reduce the spread of many common fungal diseases. Another advantage is support. A sturdy tomato cage or stake fits neatly inside a container, keeping vines upright and making ripe fruit easy to spot. And because the plant stays more organized, pruning and harvesting become much simpler throughout the season. Many gardeners are amazed that one container-grown cherry tomato can produce bowl after bowl of sweet fruit for months. It's proof that productivity isn't measured by garden size. It's measured by growing conditions. Number 5. Bell peppers. Bell peppers love warm roots. That's one of the biggest reasons they flourish in containers. Unlike garden soil, which can remain cool well into spring, Containers heat up much faster under the sun. That warmth encourages stronger root activity, faster flowering, and earlier fruit production. Another hidden advantage is nutrient control. Peppers require a careful balance. Too much nitrogen creates beautiful leafy plants with very few peppers. Containers allow gardeners to feed more precisely, encouraging flowers and fruit instead of excessive foliage. Wind protection is another bonus. Strong winds sometimes snap heavily loaded pepper branches growing in exposed garden beds. Containers can easily be moved against a sunny wall or sheltered corner where plants remain protected while still receiving plenty of light. And because peppers continue producing until frost in many climates, a movable container lets you extend the growing season by shifting plants into warmer locations as temperatures begin cooling. Healthy roots, steady warmth, continuous harvests. That's exactly what peppers love. Number 4, carrots. Most people imagine carrots growing deep beneath a traditional garden. Ironically, that's often the worst place for them. Garden soil hides all kinds of obstacles. Small rocks, hard clay, tree roots, compacted layers. Every obstacle forces carrots to bend, fork, or stop growing altogether. Containers remove every one of those problems. Loose potting mix gives roots a perfectly clear path downward. The result is straighter, smoother, more attractive carrots. Containers also make harvesting incredibly satisfying. Instead of digging through heavy ground, you simply loosen the soil and lift each carrot with almost no effort. There's another benefit many gardeners appreciate: predictability. Every container can be filled with the exact same soil mixture, producing much more uniform harvests than unpredictable native soil. Even apartment gardeners with only a balcony can grow beautiful carrots using surprisingly little space. Sometimes perfection starts underground. Number 3, lettuce. Fresh lettuce is one of the easiest vegetables to grow. Keeping it growing for a long time, that's the real challenge. As temperatures rise, lettuce quickly becomes bitter and bolts. Containers offer an incredibly simple solution. Move the plant. Morning sun, afternoon shade. That flexibility often adds weeks to the harvesting season. Another advantage is convenience. Imagine stepping outside your kitchen door with a pair of scissors. A few fresh leaves. Back inside. Dinner is ready. No walking across the yard. No muddy shoes. No harvesting more than you need. Container lettuce also encourages continual harvesting. Rather than removing the entire head, simply harvest the outer leaves while the center continues producing. One planting can provide dozens of fresh salads before finally finishing its life cycle. Simple, convenient, exceptionally productive. That's why lettuce has become one of the world's favorite container vegetables. Number 2, potatoes. Harvesting potatoes is one of gardening's greatest surprises. You never really know what's waiting beneath the soil until harvest day. Containers make that experience even better. Instead of digging carefully and accidentally slicing potatoes with a shovel, you simply tip over the container or empty a grow bag. Suddenly, dozens of potatoes appear right before your eyes. It's faster, cleaner, and far more enjoyable. Containers also reduce exposure to many soil-borne diseases by allowing gardeners to begin with fresh growing media every season. Another huge advantage is vertical growing. As potato stems develop, additional soil can be added around the plant, encouraging more tubers to form higher up the stem. That means impressive harvests from surprisingly little floor space. For gardeners with patios, driveways, or balconies, potatoes prove that you don't need a large backyard to grow one of the world's favorite vegetables. Sometimes the biggest harvests come from simply flipping over a pot. Number 1, basil. If one edible plant seems almost designed for container gardening, it's basil. Everything about basil benefits from growing in a pot. It loves warm soil. It loves excellent drainage. And it thrives when gardeners harvest it regularly. Garden beds often stay wet after heavy rain. For basil, that's bad news. Constantly damp roots invite disease and slow growth. Containers drain much faster, keeping the root zone healthy and oxygen-rich. Another reason basil dominates container gardens is accessibility. Place one pot beside your kitchen door. Fresh herbs are available whenever you're cooking pasta, pizza, soups, salads, sandwiches, or homemade pesto. The more often you pinch off the growing tips, the bushier the plant becomes. Instead of slowing production, regular harvesting actually encourages basil to grow even more leaves. It's one of the few vegetables and herbs that practically rewards you for using it. And because containers are portable, basil can always be moved into the sunniest location or protected from severe weather. That's why so many experienced gardeners never bother planting basil directly in the ground anymore. Once they experience how productive container basil can be, there's simply no going back. One of the biggest myths in gardening is that success depends on having a large backyard. It doesn't. What truly matters is creating the right environment for each plant. Containers allow you to build that environment from the ground up. Better soil, better drainage, better moisture control, healthier roots, cleaner harvests, greater flexibility, and in many cases, even bigger yields. Whether you have a spacious backyard, a tiny patio, a balcony, or just a sunny porch, container gardening proves that fresh, homegrown food is possible almost anywhere. Sometimes you don't need more land. You simply need smarter growing methods. If you enjoyed today's countdown, you'll absolutely love what's coming next. Comment below which of these vegetables are you planning to grow in containers this season? And if you've discovered one that performs even better than the ones on this list, share it with everyone in the comments. We'd love to hear your experience. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and subscribe because every week we share practical gardening tips, smarter growing techniques, and simple secrets that help you harvest more food in less space. And don't stop here. Click on the next video on your screen, where we'll reveal even more vegetables, fruits, and gardening tricks that can completely transform the way you grow. Thanks for watching, happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next video.